Everyone, say hello to my ex-husband, the man who couldn't give me a family. To our...
Actually, Diana,
Yeah?
before you finish that toast, there's someone I'd like you to meet.
Who is that?
Diana stood in the middle of a party thrown in her own honor, holding a glass of champagne, about to humiliate the one man in the room who had never stopped believing in her. She smiled at her guests, raised her glass toward her ex-husband, and prepared to turn his pain into her punchline. She had no idea that in the next few minutes, everything she had told herself for 5 years was about to collapse in front of everyone she loved, and that the truth landing on the lawn behind her would carry 3 small heartbeats she never expected to see again. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. 5 years earlier, Diana and Marcus were still husband and wife, living in a quiet suburb outside Columbus, Ohio, in a home they had built together out of nothing but 2 incomes and a shared belief that hard work eventually pays off. For 6 years of marriage, they had tried for a child, and for 6 years, nothing had come of it. Diana's mother, Carol, called almost every week with the same question, phrased a different way each time, always circling back to grandchildren she did not yet have. Diana absorbed every one of those calls like a verdict, and slowly, she began to believe the fault could only belong to Marcus, because believing anything else felt like admitting something about herself she was not ready to face. Marcus asked her more than once if they could go together for testing, a simple set of appointments that could have answered the question neither of them wanted to say out loud. Diana refused every time, insisting she already knew where the problem lived, though she could never explain how she knew it with such certainty. Marcus never pushed harder than a gentle suggestion, because he loved her and because some part of him still hoped the answer would arrive on its own, without doctors, without paperwork, without a diagnosis that might end the only home he had ever built with another person. The night Diana ended the marriage, she did not raise her voice, and she did not cry until after Marcus had already left the house. She told him plainly that she was done being pitted at dinner parties, done watching her friends announce pregnancies while she rehearsed a smile for the room, done waiting on a future that never seemed to arrive. Marcus asked her to look at him one last time before she said anything she could not take back, and for a moment she almost did, but her mother's voice was louder in her memory than his, and she chose the version of the story that let her walk away without blame. Within a year, Carol had already introduced Diana to Preston Hale, a real estate developer from a wealthy family outside Cincinnati, a man who spoke in the confident, unhurried tone of someone who had never once been told no. Diana married him 18 months later in a ceremony far larger than her first, surrounded by people who called it a fresh start, though almost no one asked what exactly she was starting fresh from. Preston liked being seen with her, liked the way she managed a room, and liked, most of all, the quiet access her marriage gave him to her mother's family money, though it would take years before Diana allowed herself to notice that particular detail. Marcus, meanwhile, left Columbus without telling many people where he was going, and rebuilt his life 2 states away in Chicago, working 18-hour days out of a small rented office until his logistics company grew into something people in the industry began to recognize by name. An old college friend, Dr. Emily Parker, now running a fertility clinic on the north side of the city, reached out to him one winter and asked a question no one else had ever asked him directly, whether he had ever actually been tested. Marcus admitted he had not, because for 6 years he had let other people's certainty replace his own need for answers, and Emily told him gently that it was time he stopped carrying a verdict that was never proven in the first place. The results came back within 2 weeks, and every marker on Marcus's chart was normal, healthy, and completely unremarkable in the way that only good news can be. Emily sat across from him and told him plainly that whatever had kept him and Diana from having a child, it had never been what everyone assumed it was. Marcus did not feel triumphant hearing it. He felt something closer to grief, the specific kind that arrives late, for a version of his marriage that might have survived if two people had simply asked one honest question 5 years earlier instead of one convenient assumption. Marcus and Emily grew close over the following 2 years, first as friends who understood each other's long hours, then as something neither of them planned but both of them welcomed. They married quietly, without the scale or spectacle of Diana's second wedding, and within a year Emily was pregnant with triplets, a fact that stunned both of them and delighted everyone who had watched Marcus rebuild himself from the ground up. He named none of it revenge, because revenge had never once occurred to him. He simply wanted his children to grow up knowing a version of their father who had never let one painful chapter define the rest of his life. Back in Ohio, Diana's second marriage was already showing cracks that she worked hard to hide from her mother and harder to hide from herself. Preston had grown short with her about money more than once, pressing her about accounts tied to Carol's family estate, accounts Diana had never fully understood and had never been given real access to control. She told herself every couple argued about money, that this was simply what marriage looked like when you were finally being honest with each other. Though some nights, alone in a house far larger than the one she had shared with Marcus, she wondered quietly whether she had traded one kind of loneliness for another she had not yet learned to name. It was Carol's idea to invite Marcus to Diana's 5-year anniversary party, framed as a gesture of grace, a chance to show him how far Diana had come and to finally close a chapter everyone assumed was already closed. Diana hesitated only briefly before agreeing, telling herself she wanted closure, though some smaller, quieter part of her wanted an audience for it, wanted witnesses to the life she had built without him. She sent the invitation herself, and Marcus, to her surprise, accepted it without hesitation, arriving that evening with a calm she did not expect and could not immediately explain. The party was already in full swing on the back lawn of Preston's estate when Diana raised her glass toward Marcus, in front of nearly 100 guests, and called him the man who could not give her a family. A ripple of uncomfortable laughter moved through the crowd, the kind of laughter people offer when they are unsure whether they are allowed to disagree with the woman holding the microphone. Marcus did not raise his voice or defend himself the way she expected. He simply stepped aside, calm and unhurried, and told her that before she finished her toast, there was someone he wanted her to meet. The sound reached the yard before anyone understood what it was, a low mechanical hum rising from beyond the tree line, growing steadier until every head at the party turned toward the private airstrip Preston had built for his own use and rarely let anyone else near. Diana's smile faded first, then her voice, as a private jet taxied into view and came to a stop close enough for its cabin door to open onto the edge of the party itself. Guests who had been laughing seconds earlier fell into a silence that Diana would later describe as the loudest quiet she had ever stood inside. Dr. Emily Parker stepped down first, composed and unhurried, followed by 3 small children holding hands in a careful, practiced line, clearly used to the routine of moving together. Marcus crossed the lawn to meet them, crouched down to steady the smallest of the 3 on the final step, and turned back toward Diana with an expression that held no anger in it at all, only a kind of tired clarity that 5 years of silence had finally earned him. Diana's champagne glass hung forgotten in her hand as she asked, almost without meaning to, whether these were his children, and Marcus answered simply that they were his, healthy, loud, and entirely his own. Diana asked how that was possible, her voice smaller now than it had been all evening, and Marcus told her the truth as plainly as he could manage in front of 100 people who had spent 5 years believing a story that was never actually confirmed by anyone. He told her the doctors had never said what everyone assumed they had said, that the only person who had ever declared him unable to have children was Diana herself, and that she had made that declaration without a single test, a single appointment, or a single moment of real doubt in her own certainty. Carol, standing near the back of the crowd, looked away first, unable to meet her daughter's eyes. Preston said nothing at all, already checking his phone as though calculating an exit from a marriage he had never fully committed to in the first place. Diana asked Marcus, quietly now, away from the crowd, whether it had ever truly been her, and Marcus told her honestly that he did not know, because she had never given either of them the chance to find out together. He said the difference between them was simple. He had eventually let go of his fear long enough to seek an answer, while she had let go of her fear only long enough to find someone to blame. Diana did not argue with him, because for the first time in 5 years, she had nothing left to argue with. She only nodded, told him the children were beautiful, and meant it. By the time the jet lifted off later that evening, carrying Marcus, Emily, and their 3 children back toward Chicago, the party behind them had quietly emptied, guests slipping away in 2s and 3s without the usual round of goodbyes. Diana stood alone on the terrace long after the last car had pulled out of the driveway, still holding a glass of champagne she had never finished, watching a pair of lights shrink into the dark sky above her. She was not devastated, and she was not angry. For the first time in 5 years, she was simply still, sitting with a question she had spent half a decade avoiding, finally willing to ask it honestly. Some people spend years running from the one answer that could set them free, while others spend those same years quietly searching until they find it. Only one of them ever finds peace on the other side.